Excellent. Welcome. We're here today. It is July 8th, Tuesday, July. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake on the agenda. It's actually Tuesday, July 9th at 5:38 p.m. And this is the Human Relations Commission meeting, quarterly meeting. First order of business, calling us to order. Here we are.
Here we are.
The second thing that I have put on the agenda is we're a new body, this is a new composition, so I just want us to go around and introduce ourselves. And why doesn't everyone just say a little bit about how long they've been on HRC and what their interest in it is? You want to start?
Yes. So my name is Nicole Black, and I've been on the HRC since 2020. And I came on originally as an alternate. So I was entering Delaware Law School, and I was particularly interested in human rights, women's rights, and so this was something I thought that was really interesting to me that I wanted to be involved.
Great, I'm Moon Shang. I guess this is actually my first official meeting of the HRC, though I joined a little while back.
And so your
First official meeting.
Your first name is?
Lin Shang.
Lin Shang. In my hearing, you said Emily. I'm like, wait, do we have a new name? Sorry.
Yeah, so I moved to Narberth from West Philly about a year and a half ago, and I think was eager to just figure out a way to contribute and get more connected. And out of all the committees, this had like the best fit in terms of my professional skill set. So I do a lot of leadership development, organization development, which has an important diversity, equity, and inclusion angle built into it. So I thought this was a place to learn more and figure out how to contribute.
Excellent. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you. My name is Rebecca Starr. At the moment, I'm currently vice chair of the commission. I've been on since we founded the commission in, I don't know, what year was that, 2017 maybe? And I have a background as a criminal defense lawyer and doing some human rights work and some civil rights work and higher education work. And so this was sort of a natural fit into my personal interest. I don't practice law anymore, although I have my license, but it's been great to see this get underway. It's great to be coming out of sort of moment of less involvement to be meeting. Our first order of business really needs to be choosing officers. By ordinance, actually I'm going to back up and say our first order of business is to make sure that both of you have the copy of our two sort of guiding documents. One is the actual ordinance that created, or that guides us, and the other are those rules and regulations that were promulgated by Borough Council to sort of guide how we do things. So these, combined, these are our rule book. Do you have these?
No,
Right,
I think I have the initial document for the committee, but not the rules.
Okay, so I'll make sure you get both of these. They're both on the website, but I'll make sure you get them. So according to this, we need 3 officers. We need a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. We have not had a chair for a really long time. I chair the police advisory committee, so at the time I thought that I might be a conflict to chair this too, but then no one else stepped up, so I quickly am chairing it as vice chair. So I'm happy to there are 3 of us. We should each take an office that we feel like we can do. I don't want to be secretary. I'm really bad at finishing up minutes after I've left meeting. So I'm good at other follow-up. So, but I'm happy to do either of the other 2 officers. Do you guys have an interest in one particular skill set?
Could you say what's like each role?
So the president of is going to guide things. Is going to be the point of contact with usually the borough manager or Alan, who's the assistant. So if there's a complaint that is lodged, it will get sent to you. And then you will need to guide it through you meeting whoever the chair is needs to guide it through the processes, determination of whether there's jurisdiction, any sort of proceeding, whether we're gonna hear it or not, whether we're gonna dismiss it and defer it to the state entity. If there's, choose a mediator, either yourself or someone else, get it guided through mediation and so forth. So that's the primary thing, and the secondary function is running these meetings and setting whatever other agenda we want. And the third is being a liaison to Borough Council on public health and safety. We'll ask for reports periodically.
Yeah, and then, well, I mean.
And then vice chair is doing whatever the chair asks, but if the chair is not available, like say there's an important, there are all kinds of ways that the vice chair can be used. They can be doing nothing, they can be doing something that the chair asks of them. There are a couple of stages of our proceedings where there need to be a wall put up, so if there's a mediation, the rest of the committee can't know about it. So let's say you were chair and you chaired the mediation and the case did not resolve in mediation and it needed to go on to a hearing. Then perhaps you couldn't then participate in the hearing part of it because you were the mediator. So perhaps you would want to then have the vice chair head the process. And then the secretary would need minutes of the meeting to submit it and post it.
Okay, so that gets submitted to Borough Council and then we post it.
Yeah, you just need to, you would write them up, we would approve them at the next meeting.
Okay.
Then you would have to make any changes based on what we discussed at the meeting. Then send them to Alan who posts them on the website.
Okay.
And what kind, like how detailed are the minutes? Are they like this person said this person said that type minutes? Or is it more like here are the key decisions and here are the key discussion points? Or is it kind of up to the discretion of the secretary?
So I will say when we first sort of founded, meetings were not held in accordance with the Sunshine Act.
Okay.
And one of the big things that 2 borough managers ago, she was like, you guys gotta get your own too, which was important. So we don't have a history, and then we haven't actually met since that.
Yeah.
So we have no track record for HRC minutes.
Okay.
Other committees that I've been on, I would say it is highlights.
Something to refer back to.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm happy, I've never done it before, but I'm happy to like do that. I don't know.
Great.
You know, should do it.
Do I hear a motion to name Nicole as secretary?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be chair, I'm a new
vice
member,
chair.
so I'm really hoping to, originally I was hoping to like, just be a member, that would be ideal. And also because I don't know how you always feel, I'm also expecting my first child this fall, so I'm like a little bit
Yeah.
not sure how active, at least in the next little while, I can be.
Yeah.
And my job is also a little bit demanding, so it gets me, so I was hoping to just be a member and contribute, if that's still an option.
Would you be
Yeah,
willing to be
do that.
vice chair with the caveat that right now there's nothing to do?
Okay, sure,
Okay.
sure, yeah.
So do I hear a motion for Lynn Chung to be vice chair?
Yeah,
You need to make a motion,
yeah.
there's only 3 of us, I'll second that,
Yeah.
yes I can. All in favor?
I,
All opposed? And for Nicole, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Any opposition? And I guess I have been self-nominated as chair.
Yeah.
Is there a second for that?
okay, sure, second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Okay.
Okay.
No.
So we have our slate of officers, which is great. And the next thing that I put on the agenda, I'm just trying to move us along. I personally don't feel like we should meet if there's nothing to meet about, and we shouldn't meet any longer than one needs to. On the other hand, I'm glad we're meeting today because we haven't met for a while, and it's at least important to see faces and get things going. So the Supreme Court, I don't know how much you guys follow the end of term cases, but one of the cases that the Supreme Court handed down at the end of the term called into question the administrative agencies and the weight that should be given to decisions of the administrative agencies. And so I posed the question to our solicitor whether, like, is there anything yet that we should be aware of vis-a-vis the Human Relations Commission, because we effectively work in concert with the Pennsylvania Human Rights Commission, but then that also feeds into the EEOC and women complaints, or so there,
Is this the Chevron case then?
this is the Loper.
Loper case, okay.
I'm just gonna read it, actually, I don't know if I can read it totally out loud. So he does not believe at this time that Loper is gonna impact our work. And because there's always been the right for the courts to review what we do, so that's not new. There isn't any legislative agency interpreting the local ordinance, but he does think in the long term there will be some impact based on dependency. So at the moment, no. And then he also mentioned the SEC case. He also thinks this might shake down to the EEOC. So for now, everything's fine, and it's kind of a wait and see. They're watching it. Okay. Any questions?
I'm sorry, I'm just looking up, yeah, I think about it as a Chevron case because of overturns in Chevron. So I keep calling it that, but that's the old,
yes, that's the old case.
yeah, okay.
So, excuse me 1 second. Is anyone on the call?
No.
I just got a text from someone that made me think that I had been watching.
Yeah.
So that's just a little bit of an update on that. The next thing is really kind of an update, which is that Borough Council is in the middle of what I would call an administrative audit. So there's, the whole borough is run on volunteer energy, and there's only, people do a really amazing job as volunteers, but, there's a limit to who and has the time and at any one time, and how many seats there are and what we need to fill. So they're taking a look at all of the commissions and committees to see, are they doing what they should, are they necessary, or do they have the right number of members? And one of the points that I made, the HRC liaison is Jim Spear. I'm not sure that I got that right. And what I said to him is there are certain agencies that have to exist because you have you can pass a new ordinance and dissolve them, but to the extent that you're going to have them, the law says how many people you need to have. So you have civil service is a necessary committee because we have the police force. The zoning hearing board is necessary because we've got zoning laws. HRC is necessary because we've got a human relations ordinance. So, and at the moment, we're really woefully understaffed, and we need to be at full capacity because, so when the HRC was passed, we offered broader protection than what the state offered for individuals. So we protected based on sexual orientation, which the state did not. I believe that's the one we covered in veteran status. Now, based on case law, the state does also offer that level of protection. So we're somewhat redundant and can, for the most part, just sort of defer to state. But one can imagine that that's not always going to be true. So in the instance that we wanted to hear a case, if we mediated and then wanted to hear the case, we need enough members to have someone mediate, be able to, or someone to organize the mediation. Then if mediation fails, have enough members to investigate and hear the case. So as we currently stand, there isn't minimum that we need to be at. So that's sort of the first point of it, and then the second point of it is like, do we need to exist and what does our mission need to be? I mean, at a bare minimum, we need to be here if someone files a complaint of discrimination. There's also the potential, certainly for HRCs to do more. We haven't yet. We did a little bit around the George Floyd murder, but we were mostly focused when we were getting up and running about creating our rules and regulations and getting things sort of in shape, and our chair at the time did a really great job getting us organized. Then the pandemic and George Floyd, we did a little bit then, and then we slowly started hemorrhaging members. So we haven't done anything sort of proactive since then. So we could, and with the anti-Semitic graffiti earlier this year, Fred contemplated asking HRC to sort of get involved in some capacity. That didn't happen. You know, so there are all these possibilities that haven't sort of actualized. So one possibility that Borough Council is considering is maybe we make this a just as needed, that we're really just here to hear complaints. With the caveat that if that needs to change, we can come to Borough Council, or they can come to us and let us know. And that way, even if we have a certain number of members, we don't need to do that much unless there's a case. Until or unless there's a case. So that's one possibility. One possibility is to make us leaner, but do more. You know, one possibility is to make us leaner and still not do much, and one possibility is to kind of do away. Do we really need an HRC? I think we do. I feel really happy to be in a borough that takes civil rights really strongly, and even if for no other reason, you know, to the extent that we overlap with other things, that's great, but if those other protections go away, it's really nice that we still provide them.
Yeah.
So I've been advocating strong that HRC continues to exist. But I just want everyone to know that that's part of the conversation. So what I did tell Jim that we would do is to discuss it here. So I want to hear your, I know this is sort of new to hear your opinions, but that also before the September, actually it's not public health and safety, I think it's infrastructure is who we report to. But before that meeting, I said that one of us would take a look at the ordinance to see what is the minimum number of people that we can be. I think it is, I think 5 is actually what we need for 1 to mediate, 1 to investigate, and 3 to hear the case.
Yeah, when I started, that's what it was, 5 and 2 alternates.
But I couldn't remember just off my head, because I haven't read the rules recently, whether that's our interpretation or whether really that's what we need. So Nicole, with your legal, I know both of us are kind of gonna be a little bit gumped up for the next little while. Do you want to, do you feel comfortable reading through the ordinance to see if that's true or not?
I mean, I have it here too.
I mean, we could do it now, as we're sitting
Yeah.
here, but we also don't need to do it now.
We might as well look at it now.
I think it might be in the rules and not in the ordinance.
Yeah. Yep, our organization, 5.
Well, it does say that we should be 5 members and 2 alternates. The question is, based on how we run, could they change the ordinance to be, say, 3 members and 2 alternates or something?
3 constitute quorum, members may participate through electronic devices. Under the borough code.
Okay, so here, so according to the rules, we need a mediator. We could, by statute, say that the mediator was not a member of the Human Relations Commission, so that doesn't need to be a separate person. We need one or more investigators, so like, at a minimum, let's say that there is one person designated as a mediator, and then the panel could be 1 or 3 people, members of the committee or alternates. So that needs to be different than the investigator. So technically, we could have one person as a judge as opposed to a panel to make a decision. I don't know that we want that. I think we would rather have the 3 if necessary.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So to me, that means we need a minimum of 4 people
Okay.
on the committee.
With the idea that
Assuming that
we would have someone else mediate.
mediate. So 4 plus the mediator. So that would be our minimum, according to how it is, and according to how we think would make sense.
Yeah.
How does that sound to you guys?
That sounds good.
Now, I know that you are relatively new to this, but what are your thoughts about having an HRC that was just about hearing cases if they're brought versus one that is sort of charged with doing more?
Good question. I'm actually curious to hear what both of you think, because you've had more history with the committee doing more, so I guess I'm curious to hear like.
Well, I will tell you, in my time, there have only been 2 cases that have been brought up, and they have both been settled, they have both been resolved. So I'm not quite sure, as far as like doing more, what would that be really?
Well, there are some committees that do, like, are proactive to say, hey, we exist, here's the complaint procedure. There are some committees that are proactive in terms of civil rights education, community education, or anti-discrimination policies and practices. There are other HRCs that one could use as a model.
Would it be something like, for example, like during Pride Month, you would have something like that,
Perhaps,
Juneteenth,
yeah.
you have something like that?
Yeah.
We discussed, I don't know if you remember, one time, I don't know if it was like, we were trying to get our own HRC emails, and they talked about like a page for HRC. I think, most people are on the borough, like looking for kind of, they would find us that way. But probably most people don't know that this is an option, I would say. So I think kind of making the borough aware, like the residents aware, would not be a bad thing that it exists. At least an option. But I don't know what would be the best way.
What is your, as you said, you come into it with DEI experience and thinking about it from a business perspective, like what is your thought on what you, and this is your home, it's your borough. What are your thoughts on what you would like to see here?
Well, I think I have a curiosity, so I'm like, this is a thought that I'm holding loosely. This is what we'd do if like this was an organization potentially, but I'm also mindful like of all volunteer committee and but I'd be curious to hear like what people's experiences in Narberth are, right? There's a lot of times where people experience like slights or just, exclusion that you would never file a complaint against it, right? But it makes me curious about what people have experienced here and if there are things to pay attention. Is there guidance to business owners? Is there, guidance to neighbors about things just to pay attention to? So if we did, survey or town hall, but that's a big undertaking and then you have to respond to it. So I feel nervous about saying like, yeah, let's do that, right?
Right, well,
Without
anything
wanting-
that we decide to do, we need to be willing to do,
Right,
right?
right.
So that's-
But it might be something in the future if there's like more members or,
Yeah.
that, I like the idea of, like for now, if we're in like a smaller committee and people don't have as much energy to plan stuff, maybe just helping people know that we exist, and then maybe meeting like once or twice a year to at least be connected as even if there's no case, to at least like feel like we exist.
Yeah.
And then maybe at some point, if there is more energy to embark on something, you know, but to have the openness, but also not feel the pressure to say, we could also just be here to listen to cases if needed.
Yeah, mine's up a.
I mean, at the moment, we have quarterly meetings
Yeah.
scheduled.
And I think we talked about like recruitment a little bit.
Right, which is the next thing, you know,
Yeah.
let's say we exist as we are, we decided we need at least 4 members, we need at least 1 more member, right? So we do need to, I've been talking to people, two people that I thought might be interested, who then came back and said that they don't have the capacity. So you don't need to be a lawyer to do this. I mean, I do think we need a couple of people who are only because they feel comfortable, you know, working their way through it. But even then, we have our solicitor who answers questions. You know, we have people on Borough Council who are lawyers who can help us understand things. So I personally don't think it's necessary.
I think I might have somebody. Do you have anybody you think that you may be?
I mean, so in terms of criteria for who's like a good member, is it mostly, I guess I'm just thinking about,
Interested in really?
Yeah.
I mean, someone who has professional DEI
Yeah.
experience is perfect, right? Someone who has worked in a certain related area of law is
Yeah.
perfect. You know, or someone who has government administrative
yeah,
experience. But I don't think they need those.
yeah,
I certainly think someone with certain lived experiences might be beneficial.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, there's certainly diversity in the borough that's not represented on this committee right now. So,
Yeah, I do have somebody potentially in mind. But that's why I think I was kind of coming up. In order to do that, we almost have to have a job description so we could then.
so we got started with that, and then
Yeah.
I do apologize, I think it's sitting, you sent it to me.
Yeah, send it to you. I think you sent something back, like, what about this? And I was like, what about this? And then we kind of stopped that. But I think once we have that, that would be important as far as like recruitment goes. Because most people are like, well, what is it and what it's about? And, you know, but if you have like a 1-pager, here you go, then they can make a decision kind of off
and it
that.
seems like it's pretty light time commitment unless there's a case. That would be the
Yes.
only case time when
Yeah,
the time might be more.
in my experience, it's been pretty.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a lot of things, it is really light,
Yeah.
unless it's not.
Right.
Right, if there happened to be a
Yeah.
big incident,
Yeah.
you know, the reason why a couple of people stepped off, there was, something came up in Lower Merion around one of the police officers
Okay.
making a stop. And, you know, people realize like, wait, if something like that happens here, then there is
Yeah.
suddenly a big time commitment to it.
Yeah.
So, I don't expect it will ever be a big time commitment unless it is.
Yeah.
And the terms, I think, were like 5 years or.
So it sounds like what we probably should do is get back to the job description.
Okay.
Each of us should keep our eyes open and continue to talk to people about joining
Yeah.
that we think would be good members of the committee.
I think that would be,
Okay.
yeah.
If I got you comments, then it's in your box, so why don't you pull it up and
Okay,
sort of get the process going again.
okay.
I don't think I have a copy of it.
The job description, it might have been before you joined.
Did I miss it or?
Yeah, no, I think at the time, it might have just been burned out
Okay.
at the time.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, that's kind of fun.
So I'm just gonna say, like, for the Sunshine Act, there are 3 of us, so if more than 2 of us are, it actually gets a little tricky because like more than a quorum can't participate, so with 3 of us, it's almost on the line whether 2 of us can even work on anything outside of the meeting. So we can't go, like 2 people can go back and forth on something, but all 3 of us can't discuss a doc. I know, it gets onerous. So all 3 of us can't work on most projects unless we're in.
At an official meeting, okay.
There's some caveats to that, but for a job description, I think that we can. I think that we can. I'll confirm that, but I'm pretty sure for a job description. But any sort of substantive, like we couldn't discuss a case online through email. We couldn't discuss changing the ordinance online through email. We couldn't, I'm sort of thinking, what are the primary functions of what we do, we can't do other than in public meeting. Okay. But this job description, I'm 95% sure we can, so I will check on that. Send everyone the more suitable order.
Yeah, he would probably have some very good input on that first too. So I think, I just kind of pulled some stuff from a few different places and put something together as a starting document.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, so I'll resend it. I don't know if I have your email address.
I sent, the last email that I sent out was to the 3 of us now, so we're all on there.
Perfect.
I'm curious, when there have been cases, how big has the time commitment been? Is it like, I imagine very intense, but a lot or
There've
something?
been 2 cases total.
Yeah.
The first one, I mediated, so that took that time just to prepare it and mediate it. But the committee didn't have to do anything.
Do anything. Really, other than pay attention to like any updates. or
Yeah, and then the
anything.
second one, someone else mediated, is when I was vice chairing, chair. So it was a lot of back and forth, but someone else did the mediation.
Okay.
So that was it. So I was keeping everyone up to date.
Yeah.
The biggest time commitment was when we decided to do listening sessions
Okay.
after George Floyd, so we had to schedule that and post them, and we worked on a statement to come out to make, things like that. So that was the period of, and that was just a few weeks.
The ramp up of everything, I guess.
I'm sorry?
The ramp up of
Yeah.
getting started. Okay. So, in summary, we have our roles, we have our titles. We are coming up with a job description.
Right. We seem to be in agreement, am I correct, that we do think an existence of an HRC is a good thing?
Yes.
And we would recommend to Borough Council continuation, and that if they wanted to make us leaner, they could bring us down to 4 or 5 with no alternates potentially.
Yes. Yes, that.
And then change the ordinance to just that the mediator needs to be a non-committee member.
And I'm hearing for the purpose of the meeting that we're still open to potentially doing other stuff, but that we're also, like in terms of having the freedom to do it, but in terms of our actual work, just for now, it might just be hearing the cases.
At our current capacity. Until we can get more numbers.
Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 10th at 5:30. Does this time still work well for people?
Yes.
That's during my maternity leave, so I don't know what kind of state I'm in.
Okay.
So,
No.
if I'm
When are you due? I'm
doing
sorry.
September 8th.
Okay.
So if somehow I'm doing well, if it's okay for me to show up with the baby,
Of course.
then maybe I will, but I don't know how I'll be during my maternity leave, so I'll have the time. I just don't know what kind of mental or physical state something I'll be.
So there may not be anything more, you know,
Okay.
it's nice for us to
Yeah.
continue to get together as we're rebuilding
Yeah.
ourselves, but
Okay.
let's just leave it out there as scheduled.
Sure.
We'll see.
Yeah, I could probably at least join by Zoom, but it might be fun to get out of the house and bring the baby and say hello or
It'd
something.
be great,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
That's a nice time of year to have a baby too, I think.
Yeah,
In the winter, I think it's hard, summer, you know.
okay.
It's like nice weather, but you're not dealing with like people getting too sick.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
This is the time when it's open for public comment, but there is no one present in the meeting room besides us, and is there anyone on Zoom?
Nope.
No one on Zoom, so I will take that as no public comment. Does anyone have anything else that they wanted to bring up at this point?
No.
Then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.